Hello everyone, David Seven Skies here, broadcasting from the Seven Skies Mansion, and welcome to another episode of Tutorial Tuesday. Just a few hours ago, I finished a new remix, which I can't wait to share with you because it's a pretty big one. And while I was working on it, I stumbled upon a couple problems that, thank God, I was able to fix because I have a few techniques and a few things that I do every time I'm about to finish a track after I'm done with the whole mixing and everything. Before bouncing the final version, to then go into the mastering project. Yes, I master my tracks separately. I don't master them within the same production project. Sometimes I do stems, sometimes I don't. I just bounce the whole thing and then import it into a new project and master it from there. Reason is it's easier to use heavy plugins with higher oversampling. That's pretty much the only reason. But anyway, there's a few things that I always do whenever I finish a track before mastering it, which help me checking for errors, making sure that my mix is as good as I can get it. And this is what we're gonna look at today. But before we start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell button right next to it because I will be online for 30 minutes every time I upload a new video. That was super fast. But let's start with those few tricks that I do. Also, this Tutorial Tuesday is gonna be slightly different because I won't be on live clicking knobs and stuff. I'm probably just gonna, you're gonna have to look at my face, zooming in and out constantly, because I know a lot of people don't like that. But yeah, it's just gonna be something that I'm gonna explain. That's not gonna be screen recorded involved. So the first thing I do when I'm done with the mix of a track, also while I'm mixing the track, but definitely while I'm done with it, is check the mono signal. Most audio interfaces have either an actual button on the hardware or a button on the interface software that will let you switch to mono. If you don't have an interface that allows you that, you can always put a plugin on the master that allows you to have mono. Ableton Live has the utility plugin. You can use a stereo spreader, and instead of turning it all the way up, you can turn it all the way down and it will narrow the stereo image and will make it mono. There's a ton of things you can do to have your track mono. It doesn't matter how you get there. It only matters that you have the mono signal. Why do you need the mono signal? Well, mono, it's still very, very important in music. Even if stereo is obviously what you want, mono signal is pretty much everywhere. Think about your iPhone or Android or whatever. Now, yes, they have stereo speakers. I don't know how good these things are, but most of the phones still output a mono signal. Or think about when you're driving. When you're driving, you're not in the center of the car. You are either driving, so depending where country you're from, you're either on the left or on the right, or you're on the car and someone else is driving and you're the opposite place, but you're not exactly in the center of where the listening point would be. What you're receiving is pretty much a mono signal because you're getting a louder signal from the speaker that is closer to you. Also, even when you're listening to music, like while you're at home, unless you're in an environment like this, while you're producing and you're in the center of the room and everything is calculated, technically it's calculated to be in the center of the room. More often, the scenarios where you're listening to music is actually a fake stereo scenario. So this is why the mono signal is very important. Another reason is a lot of clubs, a lot of events still have mono system. So mono is still very, very important. The reason I switched to mono is, once again, to make sure that I can still hear all or pretty much all of the elements in my track. So you don't necessarily need to have all of the elements there while you are listening in mono, but you want to make sure that the main elements are there even in mono. Sometimes you have a huge lead or some huge chords. They sound amazing in stereo, but as soon as you switch the track to mono, they disappear. You don't want that. So make sure that your main elements are there even in mono. If they're not, you might want to go back, fix a few things. Maybe if you use chorus or stereo spreader. I don't really like stereo spreader in channels because they tend to mess up a lot. But if you have problems like that, just go back to your mix, consider fixing some stuff. Make sure the most important elements in your track are there while you switch to mono. That's super important. The other thing that you want to do when you are about to bounce your track, make sure that the pick is at -3 at least, but I usually go to -6. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be -6, it can be -5.5, it doesn't really matter. As far as there's a good chunk of headroom for you or your mastering engineer to, put all the compressions, EQ, all the processing for the mastering. As far as you have some room for that, you're good. 3 dB is the standard, but I know a lot of people still use 6 dB. That's what I usually go for. So just make sure when you're exporting, you don't have any compressor, any EQ, unless it's an EQ to fix something. But once again, I would rather fix it in the channels, in the single channels, rather than the whole mix itself. And then the other thing, which is kind of the reason why I made this video, give yourself an alternative listening. This has nothing to do with alternative effects. But basically what I tend to do is, for example, with this track, it took me about 3 days to make the whole track, and it took me about a week to mix it properly. It sounds really good. It's probably one of the best mixes I've done. But after you hear the same track over and over and over and over, you start losing track of what you're doing. At some point, you don't know if the lead is loud enough, or if it's not loud enough, or if the hi-hat is too loud, or it's not loud enough. And you're so used to the track that sometimes you miss a little mistake. So what I do is try and find a way to make the track that I heard a million times something new and fresh. And what I came up with, I actually have never heard anyone that does something like that. I'm sure someone does, but this is something that I didn't learn anywhere. I just came up with it. What I learned is playing the track with a different speed and a different pitch. I have this software which is called Wave Editor, and it allows you to pitch the song up and down, but it's not a pitch shift. It actually works like vinyl. You know vinyl or CDJs, when they're in vinyl mode, if you increase the tempo, the pitch increases, and if you decrease the tempo, the pitch goes down. So what I do usually when I'm done with the track, I'll bounce it, I'll make sure it sounds great in mono, I make sure that it's -6 dB, and then I import it in Wave Editor. You can use Ableton, you can use Rekordbox, you can use anything that you want that will allow you to speed up the song, and as you speed it up, it increases the pitch, and as you slow it down, it decreases the pitch. What software you use in this case, it's not the point. But when you have a track that goes faster and the pitch increases, you have basically a new track. Even if it goes up 5 semitones, if it goes up 5 semitones, now I can't really do the calculation, but the track will be quite fast. Wave Editor allows you to go 12 semitones up, which is very, very fast. I don't even know how fast that is, but the song is super fast. But anyway, what that does is it will give you a fresh listening perspective. You'll hear things that you wouldn't normally hear in the normal tempo of the song and the normal key of the song. And you might hear, for example, if you slow it down, you might hear some errors with some groove or with some cut that you've done. If you pitch it up, which is what happened today, and this is what inspired me to do the video, if you pitch it up, you might find that some basses are on the wrong key. Now, I didn't put a wrong key on the bass, but what I did is I had a 808 on the track, and I had to pitch the whole track up a semitone, and I forgot to pitch the 808. It was just one hit of 808, and that's why I didn't notice, and the 808 was really low. So to me, it sounded all right because it was so low. Basically, only the sub could play that sound, and with the sub, you don't really have a defined note, especially when you have really low notes. By pitching it up a few semitones, I could tell that bass, that 808 was a semitone slower. So I had to reopen the whole project, go find that 808, pitch it up one semitone, and then re-export it again. It was annoying, but it was totally worth it because I found something that otherwise I would have never found. And I understand it sounds super silly, and it probably is. It's a very unconventional way to check tracks. Like I said, I have no idea if I'm the only one who does that or if other people do it, if super engineered do that kind of stuff. It always worked very, very well for me. And people who know me know that I actually like to pitch up the songs. Also, another reason as to why I play the song faster than it usually is that it's very easy to check for mistakes. It's very easy to check for, maybe I forgot to bypass a certain sound or the automation didn't snap the right position. And instead of waiting 5 minutes to hear the whole song or 3 minutes, if you play it very fast, maybe it takes just a minute and a half, you can check that everything is perfectly fine. You can check that everything is tuned properly. And I don't know, for as silly as it sounds, try it yourself. Hopefully it will work for you. I'm pretty sure it will. Having a different point of view, a different perspective on something that you heard a million times is always really good. So give this a try, and after you did, let me know what you think. If this by any chance fixed any of your problems, you spotted something that you did wrong in your song, let me know. If you like this video, which once again is not the typical 7 Skies Tutorial Tuesday kind of thing, but if you liked it anyway, put a thumbs up. And for me, David, 7 Skies, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.